One of my most anticipated games in what has been an absolutely stacked 2025 was Ball Pit, a new indie roguelite that looked right up my alley from the first second I saw it. And following its release on October 15th, I'm thrilled to say it has far exceeded my every expectation. If you've been following my channel for a while, you'll know I made a video last year where I talked about how I've struggled to find my next favorite roguelite that could take over my life. Well, ladies and 94% gentlemen, I think that next favorite roguelite may have finally arrived. Ball Pit is a fairly simple game to explain. You have your playable character that shoots a wide variety of different balls at a wall of enemies constantly moving downwards towards the bottom of the screen. Your character will shoot normal balls but also unlock special ones, granting you access to lasers, fire, ice, and a whole lot more. The barrage of projectiles whipping around the screen is a spectacle, and the satisfaction that comes from gaining experience and feeling your run get stronger is endlessly addictive. As the level progresses, you will upgrade your items and encounter bosses. If too many enemies reach the bottom of the screen or you run out of health, you lose. Survive until the final boss is defeated, and your run is successful. But as is the case with any great roguelite, this simplicity is only surface level. It's the many intricacies of Ball Pit that make it more than just a fancy version of Breakout. And it's also these intricacies that help it rise above the many Vampire Survivors-like games we've seen over the last few years. Cause I'll be honest, I've become pretty sick of that formula. The original Vampire Survivors is great, and there have been some very good games to take inspiration from it, but the sheer amount of them has become quite overwhelming. I can only walk around auto-aiming at enemies and collecting gems for so long before it gets a bit tiring. And that's why I like what Ball Pit is doing. Yes, it is very much a Vampire Survivors style game. Whether it's the gems you collect, the timer-based encounters, or the level up screens, the influence is pretty blatant, but it separates itself in a few key ways. First of all, you have much more autonomy over your shots, as your aim does matter. Trying to carve out a hole in the wave of enemies so the ball can reach the back and bounce around, or trying to line up the shot on the side of a boss so that you're still also hitting other enemies, adds an important extra layer of interactivity. Another departure is there is more of a bullet hell style, especially when fighting bosses, that I'm sure any Enter the Gungeon fans out there will enjoy. This helps make the game feel more skill-based, as opposed to just hoping you can get an overpowered run that can out DPS the waves of enemies closing in. Additionally, as you would expect from a roguelite, you are constantly getting new unlocks, items, and upgrades after each run, whether you win or lose. In between runs, you'll be spending time building out your base with sections of wheat or rocks to farm materials. You can use these materials to craft houses that grant you permanent buffs or unlock new characters. Once built the way you want, you send your characters out to bounce around the base, and then you do another run. And that, my friends, is Ball Pit. Now that you understand the game, I'll get into more specifics of why I think it has worked so well for me. One of the bigger problems I've always had with the Vampire Survivors formula is the difficulty. Both the potential intensity of it, but also the frequent lack thereof. Oftentimes, a run in a Vampire Survivors style game ends up feeling either literally impossible or so easy that you can play it without even looking at the screen. And I do understand that is part of the appeal. It is very satisfying to feel yourself growing stronger and turning what once felt unbeatable into something extremely trivial. But I personally think Ball Pit found a much better balance here. Each run feels like a steady build-up, and right around when you should be hitting the point where the waves of enemies are a breeze, the final boss comes in. While a good enough build can still make quick work of these final bosses, I have yet to experience what I would call a free win by any means. You still need to know their patterns and different ways of attacking them. For example, the first level's boss cannot be hit head on. You need to bounce the balls around and hit the back of his head. It keeps you on your toes and always having to adapt, rather than just looking for the same few overpowered items and going with those every single time. Another thing that I find awesome about Ball Pit is the length of runs. Each will take you no longer than 15 minutes, making it the perfect length for that one more game mentality. What's impressive here is that the runs feel both short enough that you always want to keep playing, but also still long enough that you get to enjoy the fruits of your labor with the different builds. This is a super tough thing to balance, and they absolutely nailed it. I never feel like a run drags on too long, but I also always feel like I get to enjoy my builds and get the most out of them. Speaking of builds, my favorite part about Ball Pit is absolutely the item synergies. As you mow down enemies, they will sometimes spawn a fusion, allowing you to combine two of your different special balls into one. And as you can imagine, this is where the real fun begins. You can combine a laser with ice to create a freeze ray, ghost and poison to create a virus ball that infects enemies, or wind and earthquake into a sandstorm that wipes across the screen. And you can even combine two evolved balls into multi-evolutions for fantastic results. If you like roguelites for that sweet dopamine hit, Ball Pit is ready to supply it in droves. Finding a new evolution and watching the light show that fills the screen immediately after is something I don't think I will ever grow tired of. This idea of item synergy is my main attraction to The Binding of Isaac, my literal favorite game of all time, so you can guess how happy this feature made me. The Isaac influence continues with a checkbox style completion system, marking each level with the characters you've completed it with. This simple but ever so effective tactic keeps me wanting to replay levels with each character to complete them all. Finally, all of this addictive fun is packaged wonderfully with a really stunning art style that is pretty unlike anything I've seen before. It's a super unique stylized mix of pixel art and 3D sprites. Even just the way your character moves around is distinct. On top of that, the music is great. I constantly find myself humming it throughout the day now. Before I give some closing praise, I do want to go over some of the things that are not working as well for me. Ball Pit has a ton of different characters to unlock, but early on I'm finding that a lot of them are far too similar. The only major difference is the special ball that they start with, but other than that, they virtually play the exact same. Others are just a bit gimmicky, such as a character that chooses all upgrades for you. While it's a unique idea, that kinda takes away half the fun of the game without adding anything. It does look like there are some more unique ones down the line, but for the early game, these new characters aren't doing much for me. I also find myself wishing for just a bit more ball variety, and at the same time, I was disappointed to see that some ball combinations can lead to the same outcome. I wish there was always something new to discover. To be fair though, there is still a lot I haven't unlocked yet, such as this new building I saw the night I wrote this called Matchmaker, which apparently allows you to choose two different characters at the same time and combine their abilities. So perhaps it's not fair at this stage to comment on the amount of content or variables. I'm certainly excited to see more, and hopefully I'll be more pleasantly surprised than I have been so far. The final complaint I have is that I'm not in love with the base building mechanic. There's not necessarily anything inherently wrong with it, I just feel like it wasn't totally necessary. One of the annoyances is that when placing a new building, you need to have your characters bump into it a few times before it is fully built. This leads to moments where you don't get the unlock you want, and need to play another run before you can send them back out for a harvest. While this can be a nice motivator to go again, it can also feel like an unneeded extra step to getting the upgrade you earned. I also don't think it's particularly great as a standard base builder because you can't really make it your own in the ways that fans of the concept probably want. Since specific buildings need to be placed for your unlocks and buffs, you don't get to style the town how you want like you would in a game like Animal Crossing or Cult of the Lamb. The base building isn't enough to hurt my enjoyment of the game, as it's simple and quick enough that you're in and out before you know it, but I just think it could have been done a bit better. Besides those few things though, I think Ball Pit is exceptional. Whether you're a fan of Vampire Survivors, Enter the Gungeon, Isaac, or any of the other roguelike greats, I'm confident saying you will find something here that you enjoy. As of right now, the game has its hooks in me and I can't get enough. Honestly, this video probably would have gotten out quicker if I hadn't been playing it so much instead of writing. Now, it has only been out for a few days, so it remains to be seen if Ball Pit can stand the test of time. Will the game still feel fun if I'm playing it next week, next month, or even next year? It's the all-important question that separates a good roguelite from a great one. And while I can't predict the future, I can certainly say that Ball Pit has put itself in a great position to join that upper echelon of the genre.